Hey, buds and budettes, welcome to the first episode of the Formula A podcast. You got Markis and Kyle here, and let's dive right into this. So, sprint race in 2022 is actually interesting.
I quite liked it. The first one of the year at Imola, the Made in Italy Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. I probably jumbled that up quite a bit. It's quite confusing, but most importantly, it was a good one.
Right, and let's start off by talking about our top 8. Who do we have in the top 8 here, Kyle?
So we've got our boy Max Verstappen, Red Bull, in first, Leclerc second, Perez third, Sainz fourth, Norris fifth, Ricciardo sixth, Bottas seventh, and everyone's favorite, Kevin Magnussen, rounding out the points for the sprint. But Marcus, I think the more interesting thing is who is not in the points there.
It's crazy, man. I don't know what's going on with Mercedes. They've got a crazy driver lineup. You've got the 7-time world champion. You've got George Russell, who we've seen what he does in the Williams, and I mean clearly he's making something work in that Mercedes. But they're so far off the pace. Like I don't know what's going on here.
What the worst thing I think is that they have no explanation for it too. Like, they can say the porpoising all they want, but we saw the exchange between Lewis and Toto post-qualifying. I've never seen Toto talk to Lewis like that before, and I think that's the worst for them, is that they have no idea what is wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, it's mind-boggling. I mean, you look at, some of their customer teams, like McLaren's running that Mercedes powertrain. They seem to be figuring it out a little bit. It's nice to see the boys P5, P6. But yeah, it's mind-boggling to see even Lewis Toto butting heads a little bit. That was, they were really quiet about what they were talking about. They didn't want to share anything with the media, so it must be some serious internal stuff.
Yeah, it's a weird one. I don't really have any explanation for that. Clearly, they don't either. So, and like you said, it's like they can't even really blame the engine as much anymore when their own customer team, McLaren, I mean, 5th and 6th, they've locked out the 3rd row. They did a great job.
Yeah, but I mean, listen, you can't deny that there is a little bit of a lack of performance. I mean, you look at the Red Bull and the Ferrari, they're just rockets. They are flying. I mean, I guess to give Charles credit, I mean, he had a really great start. It seems like Max hasn't been nailing his starts this year.
Yeah.
It's not the first time we've seen him kind of blow it on the start.
Yeah, I mean, we heard his very sarcastic chirp about the gear sync. He clearly didn't like it, but I mean, the clutch released a little too early. Leclerc got the jump on him, and that was that. But it wasn't, because we got such a good battle out of it, and something I was not expecting to see from the sprint, but these guys delivered again.
Honestly, it was like, I thought Max was just kind of, he got out of DRS. He was going to stay there for the whole race, but we had five laps to go, and that was a crazy move around the outside. I didn't think he was gonna make that. I thought he was gonna end up off the track.
Yeah, it was impressive. Textbook Max move. I mean, what's funny is these guys seem to be just a lot cleaner with each other than what we saw last year, obviously. If that was last season and that was a silver car instead of a red car, it would have been, all right, Perez is going to win the sprint race because these guys are going to take each other out again. But it's so good to see the battling between these guys. It was an awesome move from Max. And Leclerc, what I was surprised about, Mark, is Leclerc's tires really fell off at the end, and Max just seemed to have so much more grip than him.
Yeah, well, I mean, speaking of the tires, I think Haas had a very interesting tire strategy.
Yeah.
I think maybe had there not been the safety car, that would have played into their hands a little bit better. But, they took the gamble. They finally they rounded out the points. They've got K-Mag in 8th. Everyone seems to be really happy to see him there instead of our favorite little top there, but we won't get into that. Let's try to keep this a clean show for everybody.
Yeah, and you know what? Silver lining for Haas, I think the fact that they are disappointed with 8th and 10th should speak volumes of their improvements this year. I mean, 8th and 10th last year, it would have had to be the top 10 are out of the race, because there's no way they are getting that high. So they got it wrong with the tires, sure, but you know what? They got the extra point for Magnussen. Schumacher looked really good as well,
Yeah, it was
finishing
nice
10th.
seeing him and Seb battle. That was a nice little.
That was awesome. The
I saw
master and the
that,
apprentice.
That little meme where it was Seb being the human shield, kind of
yeah,
blocking Mick from everybody. But another disappointment to talk about, AlphaTauri. You know what? And it stinks because, they've got two really good drivers. Gasly, we all know about Gasly. The guy is super fast, super good. And Yuki seems to really been coming into his own from the end of last year into this year. He does look really improved. But, man, that car, like the drivers took one step forward and the car took 2 steps back. It's not a good time for them. No, they really seem to be struggling, and it's tough to pinpoint what the issue is. I mean, they're basically they literally are the Red Bull B team, so it's hard to say what it could be. But I mean, there's been tons of speculation with B teams sharing the knowledge. Like there's the whole the Haas conundrum now. Everyone thinks that Ferrari and Haas are sharing data. That's why Haas has come out swinging, and that's why the Ferrari is an absolute rocket.
Yeah, and I mean, I know there's a couple teams I believe have complained about the Haas, just because their improvement is so substantial and they want an investigation into Ferrari, whatever. It's smoke and mirrors. We know F1 is all about politics. The fact of the matter is that car is a rocket, and some are very bad. Speaking of very bad, I think the other one I wanted to talk about was we just talked about Schumacher and Vettel, but man, Vettel...
Oh.
That poor guy just looks so disheveled. His hair is a mess. He looks so sad all the time. It hurts me to see this guy like this.
It's rough. Like I'm starting to think we may have maybe 1, maybe 2 years left of Seb in F1. I don't see him staying much longer. I don't think, I don't think that he's not happy at Aston Martin. I just don't think the car is really where he wanted it to be. I think he was hoping it would be more of the pink Mercedes from 2020 that we saw.
Yeah.
Rather than the green Haas from 2021.
Oh, the green Haas. That's a stinger. That's a stinger. I mean, it's stinking. Well, it's one of the best looking cars in the grid. I stand by that 100%.
I definitely agree with
which
you.
Which makes it so much worse. That is a tin can on wheels pretty much. But yeah, I mean, a whole other can of worms. I mean, we could do a whole show on this, but I mean, like you said, Vettel... You might see 1 or 2 years left of this guy. His contract, correct me if I'm wrong, everybody, believe is at the end of this year. It's done. I can't see him wanting to come back to this. A lot of promises made to him, and there's not really anything has been kept.
Yeah, I can't say I disagree with you there. I think his time in the sport is very limited, and you could tell he's got his own stuff going on. Yes, he's here to spread like the positive messages in F1, but I think he's sort of accepted the fact that, he can't be a Kimi and race, 20 odd years and 300 and something races. But yeah, it's going to be unfortunate when we do lose him to the sport, which of course is inevitable, but
that is a whole other topic of discussion, I think. If we are still, got a little off track there, but we're still sticking to this sprint race. I'm wondering, because we saw Perez and Sainz, they really shot up through the field as expected. It's the two best cars in the grid, really. They both did a great job. But our boy Carlos, I mean, a lot of pressure on him at Ferrari. I get it. He's had a tough go so far, made some mistakes, but he was looking good in that sprint race, I think.
He was, and good for him because he just signed that the contract extension till 2024. So hopefully, you could tell it's getting to him. Like what was it in? I think it was in Bahrain when they got the 1-2. He was kicking himself for finishing second. You can tell he knows he has the championship winning car. And he wants to be on top there, but he's got a real battle ahead of himself with Charles and of course Max. Like we can't rule Red Bull out. I know they've got the reliability issues, but you could be a Lewis fan, you could be a Max fan. Just be an F1 fan. Don't pick sides for now, but you can't deny that Max has raw talent, and same with Lewis. It's you want to pick sides, I get it, but there's still no denying that Max or Lewis, they both had insane talent, and now Charles is giving him a run for his money, and I think I speak for everyone here when I say if they come together this year, we're all waiting for it's just a racing incident. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's like it's a friendship right now, but after the first incident, I guess we'll say we'll see how they stand. The relationship stands after that. But yeah, it's the pressure's definitely on Sainz. But you know what? I still think Ferrari ultimately they've got the best driver pairing on the grid, I think.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be just fine. He's there's little bumps to work out here and there. He's got a really fast teammate, and I think he's holding up well. But I think looking at tomorrow, we've got such a good battle at the front, right?
I think it's going to come down heavily to strategy.
Yeah.
Because, if Sainz couldn't break into the second row, maybe he gets caught behind some of the slower cars because, Imola is not the easiest track to overtake. I mean, we saw how effective the DRS was, but, aside from that, if you're stuck in a DRS train, you're stuck in a DRS train. So it's going to be interesting for the strategy to see the two top teams bunched up. It's it's a Ferrari sandwich, right? You've got the Ferraris on the outsides of the two Red Bulls.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky one. And the other thing too, right, is I just checked my phone before we started recording here. Local weather for Imola, Italy. It's looking a little spicy tomorrow. It's looking like we're going to see some rain. If it's anything like the qualifying we saw on Friday, it's going to be nuts. Like, it was just on and off rain. It was so hard to predict the strategies, and it's going to be really good. And this is where the order can get mixed up, and guys you might not expect to see high up might get up there. So
as long as we don't get 5 red flags, I think because then that takes away from the whole pit strategy.
Absolutely. The pit strategy, and we really do not want to see another spot 2021.
You didn't like 2 laps behind the safety car? Come on, that was real exciting.
I mean, I liked seeing Nikita Mazepin getting the fastest lap.
Yeah.
I mean, that was epic. But other than that, it was a total train wreck. So I don't think anybody wants to see that again. Michael Matthews not here, by the way, anymore. So hopefully we don't. But
that explains why Red Bull's not doing so well.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we could do conspiracies now. But you know what? I think if I was going to make a bold prediction for the Grand Prix tomorrow, I think, and this might not be too outlandish, I think we'll see an Aston Martin in the points, personally. I know it sounds a little out there, but I think either Vettel or Stroll, they're both down in the order. But when you have these changing conditions, I think a guy, especially with Vettel's experience, Stroll is really, really good in the rain too. We saw him get his only pole at Istanbul, changing conditions in 2020. I think you might want to look out for those Aston Martins tomorrow.
Yeah. Because you never know, someone could get caught out by a red flag or so. Like, what was it? Sergio in Saudi made his pit, and then the next lap there was the safety car, and that kind of ruined everything for him. Or what was it? Safety car, or was it red flagged?
It was a safety car.
It was a safety car, not a red flag. Yeah.
Because our boy, the fellow Canadian Nicholas Latifi.
Oh, yeah.
Who's the guy's had a tough run this year so far, but those safety cars are deadly, man. Yeah. And I hope he keeps it clean this race. I hope he stays clean, but you never know, right? And it's not not to pick on him or anything. It could be anybody losing the car, right? So
yeah, I mean, listen, if we do get the rain, listen, as much as I'm a Lando fan, we we've seen what happened at Spa. We saw what happened at Russia. I know it's a little bit of a sensitive subject, but we'll get over Russia one day.
It's tough.
It's really tough when the conditions are changing, and you can't gauge it in that moment. So who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? If it is a wet weather race, hopefully it's a good one. It's Formula One in the wet. It's always going to be good. But yeah, I'm just trying to think what else we had planned there. I think we wanted to talk about Danny Rick making that that late lunge. That was
yes.
That was nice to see.
That was textbook Danny Rick. I mean
it was on the outside, but
yeah. But another guy who's had a bit of a rough start to his life at McLaren, but He's had flashes lately where, he's looked like the old Danny Rick, and I think that's what we all want to see. That move was awesome, and it's really good to see that McLaren car, like the improvements they've made from the start of the year, where it was looking like it was going to be a tough go for that team.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they did look like they were going to be maybe not a championship contending team, but they were going to be challenging for wins in Barcelona, and then they couldn't get the brake cooling under control. And from what I understand, it wasn't just the brake cooling, it was just cooling in general. So they were adding all these extra coolers, making the car heavier, and they just completely lost out on the performance.
Yeah, so whatever they've done to that car to fix it is great. I mean, shouts out Andreas Seidel and Zach Brown, the cowboy, man. I mean, they're working overtime to get that car back into a fighting position. And our boy Zach Brown. I mean, did you see the picture of all the F1 team principals out for dinner?
Yeah.
And I don't think Andreas and Zach got the memo that it was like business casual, because Zach showed up in like everything branded McLaren. It was the best thing I've ever seen, and everyone's all posh. But yeah, they're doing a good job, and it's great to see Danny Rick up there. Orlando looked great too, and I definitely look out for them in the race tomorrow. It's going to be a fun one with them. Yeah,
if you guys can't already tell, we're kind of McLaren supporters, so you might get some biased McLaren content, but it's all is fair. But
it is what it is, love it or list it, as the real estate market would say.
Oh, but let's not dive into that. That's a whole nother can of worms right now. So if you guys are listening from anywhere in Ontario, I'm sure you know the nightmares of the real estate market right now. But let's keep this as an F1 podcast. And
yeah, I mean, if I was going to buy a house, it would definitely be one of those houses right on the outskirts of Imola.
Oh my God.
It's still one of the most picturesque places on the calendar, I think. And I don't even know how much would it cost to rent out one of those like balconies or something on Airbnb for the weekend. Oh my God,
I'm sure it's booked for the next century. There's not a doubt in my mind.
I would have to imagine, like, some old Italian dude has had that house forever, and he is just cashing in now. So God bless that Italian guy, whoever that is that's renting that thing out. It's awesome. He's going to have a great view of the race tomorrow. So with that being said, for the race, do you have a race winner prediction, Marcus?
See, that's a tough one. I think we might. Listen, if Max doesn't win this in the wet, I think it's going to be a surprise.
Yeah.
I think we might see potentially a midfield, or even, as weird as it sounds, a Mercedes win the race.
I wouldn't discount them. As bad as that Mercedes is, how on earth can you count Lewis Hamilton out?
You can't. He somehow managed to get a podium together in Bahrain. I mean, granted, there were 2 DNFs, but...
Yeah, but I mean, to finish the race and just be in that position, right? And he did everything he had to do in that Bahrain race. Yeah. There's no reason why he can't do it well, aside from the car being, a pile of junk. Yeah. There's no reason why else he couldn't do it tomorrow at Imola. If even with the rain and the changing conditions, and I'm sure there's going to be like some wild stuff happening for sure. I wouldn't be surprised to see our fellow boy, bit of a traitor, but still love the guy. I am saying Carlos wins tomorrow.
I could see that.
I'm taking it to the bank. You know what? He got his gremlins out. He had his spill in qualifying, but he looked so good in the sprint. It seems like when he's sort of alleviated the pressure, he's starting further back. He can just make up his spots. He looks so comfortable and in control of that car. And I think he's going to have a really good go tomorrow. I really do.
Yeah, I also think he's just very underrated. Like, he did the whole season last year under the radar, and he managed to jump his teammate at the end of the season.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm sure that's, like we said earlier, I'm sure that's getting to his head a little bit. He knows he's in a competitive car. He knows he's capable of beating his teammate. I mean, let's face it, he might be able to get hopefully a 25-point, 26-point advantage when we come to Monaco, but that's something for another day.
Yeah.
If you know, you know. If you don't, well, you'll figure it out soon enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope our boy Charlie does pull through a good result at some point in his career at his home race, but we'll see. Any sort of bold prediction you think you could make? Like maybe a lower team might be getting up into the points or might be challenging further up the grid?
You know what? I'll throw in a curveball here. I'll go with an Aston Martin on the podium.
In the podium?
In the podium.
Oh, my goodness.
If we get that wet weather race, I think someone's gonna pit early, and there's gonna be someone's gonna pit. There's gonna be a red flag, and they're gonna fall back, or someone's gonna someone's gonna put wets instead of inters, or someone's gonna go on slicks early if it starts to dry up, and that's gonna pay off.
Well, yeah, and I mean they've got 2 drivers on that Aston Martin team who are specialists at wet weather driving, right? I mean, another fellow Canadian, Lance, only pole position, as we said, in Istanbul, changing conditions. We've seen him perform really well in the rain before.
He should have won that race, but I think he just got like a bad set of tires. They were wearing horribly, and
yeah, if I remember, I think he was like hard tires or something they threw on there, and they just didn't work out because he got swallowed up pretty quickly.
Wasn't it the second set of inters that he had on? They were just
that's what it was. Yeah,
right quickly.
Yeah, so I think given the right equipment, though, I think he can shine. We've seen some flashes of brilliance from him before. The podium sounds a little optimistic, but that's
my curveball, though. That is going to be my curveball.
I am all for optimism here. I mean, I definitely think one of the Astons will be in the points tomorrow. If not both, we'll have to see. But I think for sure, and that's the fun of the rain, man. You have no idea what's gonna happen.
I think we might see something magic out of Russell if we do get some rain. I mean, look at Spa, what he managed to do with that.
Oh my God!
That quali lap. I mean, listen. Say what you will about the podium. I think I speak for everyone when I say nobody liked how it went down in Spa. That wasn't a race. It is what it is. It's in the past. The life goes on, but he got that Williams P2 on merit. It wasn't luck. It wasn't anything. He drove that thing. He got the strategy right. He made the right calls, and he put that thing on the front row.
Yeah, I mean, you can say what you want about the decision making and how that race ended and how he got the podium, but at the end of the day, when you look at the history books, all you're going to see is George Russell, podium, Williams. It's not going to...
In 2021.
Exactly. It's not going to have any asterisks saying, well, Michael Massey stopped the race due to terrible conditions or whatever and only ran 2 laps behind the safety car. It doesn't matter. That's out the window. He did it. We know the guy's very good. I mean, that's a funny topic you bring up. Like, Lewis, if we're looking at internally Mercedes, Lewis is so used to driving a car at the front that when he's faced with this adversity of a bad car, I don't know if he's really adapted to it as well as Russell has. Russell has been wrestling just dogs of Williams for the past three years, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a little bit of soul searching within Lewis because, I mean, listen, when he was in McLaren, that wasn't a super dominant car. He was battling the Ferraris. He was battling, who else was he battling back then? We're talking, 2007, 2008. He was battling Ferrari. And not Red Bull. Red Bull wasn't till
Red Bull wasn't there yet. I mean, we had the GOAT's Braun in 2009, but 2009 was a down year for McLaren anyway. So 2009 is not something we talk about on this show. But I think eventually they will get it sorted out. I mean, the season's a write-off for them, obviously. But I think they will get it back to a point where, they could maybe fight for podiums again. Yeah,
I think it's going to be them fighting McLaren for P3 in the Constructors. I think that's where Mercedes is at this year. If we're going to go with predictions, I think Ferrari's going to walk away with the Constructors. Yeah. But I do think that the Drivers' Championship is still all to play for.
Yeah. I mean, it's super early. I mean, Leclerc is, he's the early favorite right now for sure. Some bad reliability for Max and Red Bull, but yeah, it's so early. It's a 23 race season. Leclerc and Ferrari, they're going to face adversity at some point in the season too. So it's all to play for. I mean,
Ferrari, I think they're going to have to take an engine penalty for Carlos because he's already on his second motor. On the 4th race now, and he's already taken a new internal combustion engine. So. that's also something that we have to look for, because I think every team is going to have to take an engine penalty. It's going to be, where do they take that engine penalty? How does it play out? I mean, we saw Red Bull take it in Russia last year.
Yeah.
And it was damage limitation. I think Max finished, P2 in that race?
I believe so, yeah.
But then we also saw Lewis take it in Brazil, and the sprint race kind of...
One of the all-time great races. You know what? If there's Lewis haters out there, I only want to hear it. One of the all-time best races.
Yeah, it was a little cheeky from Max, the way he was driving it. It seemed a little bit desperate. He knew Lewis was going to catch him. That was textbook Lewis Hamilton recovery. That was last to first.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant. It was amazing to watch.
Yeah. And I mean, hey, we've seen before, so I mean, there's no reason why Lewis couldn't make something special happen tomorrow too. We'll have to see. It's going to be a fun one, guys. Any closing thoughts there, Marcus? I think we've pretty much covered a lot of...
I think we've pretty well covered everything, and I think this being our first podcast, I think you can see kind of where we're all about. I mean, obviously, like I said, we're McLaren fans, but I think at the end of the day, we're racing fans, We've had how many conversations where it didn't matter if Lewis or Max won. We can't deny that 2021 was probably the most entertaining season by a long shot in God knows how many years.
It's been a while since it's been so nail biting like that, and coming down to the last race too, which it could happen this year too. Yeah. We'll have to see. And you know what the fun part is? We're gonna be with you guys all the way. It's gonna be a blast, and I mean, I hope you guys like the first podcast, and we're going to have one, we're going to get more of a regular schedule after this, and we're going to keep you up to date with everything Formula One from a Canadian point of view. I think it's very unique. A lot of European podcasts out there for F1.
I think there's a few American ones out there too, but just two guys who like watching racing. Sometimes we race go-karts, so sometimes we have okay opinions about Formula One.
Yeah, so we're Formula 8. We're repping Canada. We've got the hot takes. We've got the reviews. We've got the previews. And speaking of preview, write it down, guys. If you are bettors, $5, $2, small bet, whatever, take it out on an Aston Martin podium. You guys are going to cash out. And I guess we'll talk to you guys after the Made in Italy, dell'Italia, Emilia Romagna, whatever the heck they want to call it, Grand Prix.
Whatever he just said, because I'm not going to try to butcher that one for you guys. All right, let's sign off here, and thank you guys for listening.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll talk next time.